1 year ago today, Nintendo released one of the weirdest pieces of hardware I have ever seen from their company, Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. And this thing has been a part of my everyday life for the past 365 days. Now, what is the point of Alarmo? What is the concept? Let me break down for you what this thing is, because there is a good chance you forgot completely and totally about this thing. So the whole gimmick around this was that you could wake up every single day with Nintendo sounds, and you would be able to wake up by getting out of bed, and that is how the alarm clock goes off. It goes off at the time that you set it for, and then instead of you pressing it and turning it off like you would a normal alarm clock, the way that you turn this thing off is by standing up, and it senses your motion and turns off once you stand up. This is a very, very cool concept, and I loved the idea of it from the very start. In the very first couple of months that I used this thing, I was getting up pretty much the second my alarm went off every day, because that was the way I wanted to use it, that was the way it was advertised. And so I am not the type of person that immediately gets up and out of bed and gets at them, because I just am not a morning person at all. I am much more of a night owl. And yet this console helped me get up more. This piece of hardware helped me get up and get moving. And of course, all of this comes back to brand recognizability. That is Nintendo's entire thing right now. They want to make sure that they are expanding their IPs, expanding their brands, making sure that if the video game side of things falls through, they can depend on other means of revenue to keep themselves afloat for a good while until that video game side of things comes back up and around, like it did with the Nintendo Switch and like it did not do for the Wii U. And so I think Nintendo really hit gold here with Alarmo, and yet not a lot of people bought this thing because no one talks about it, and they didn't even tell us anything about sales numbers because obviously this was a big part of the Nintendo Switch Online membership. They initially released it to Nintendo Switch Online members only, and then they didn't roll it out into stores until March 2025, months and months later. So I'm pretty confident that this was probably a failure in terms of sales numbers, in terms of return on this product. They spent years and years developing this thing, figuring out the technology and trying to get it to work properly. And to be honest, when it came out, it was not in peak form. This was not a product, I think, that was entirely ready to hit store shelves because it just didn't work the way that it should have. Number one, you can't use it if you have someone else in the bed with you. So if you're married or if you have another partner, that means that this thing will not allow you to get up and use it. It just won't. It just will not be able to sense two different people and know which one is getting up, which one's in bed, and it has a really hard time struggling between those two people, and it just simply doesn't work. And I think that is a deal breaker for so many people, because why in the world would I buy an alarm clock that cannot work if I am not single, if I am not alone? Well, luckily for you and unluckily for me, I am single and I don't have to worry about that. So the past year I have been using this thing, and I gotta tell you right now, even though it has a lot of design flaws, even though when it first released it wasn't quite ready to be released and it doesn't work for couples, and so that already cuts your audience in half, and then it didn't release in actual stores until literally half a year later, I still was the very niche subset of audience that this product perfectly applied to, and I bought it, and it was worth every penny. $100 at the time, now up to $105 as a result of some tariff increases of prices. But this console, this hardware, whatever you would like to call it, it is actually a very, very fun idea, and I would like to tell you why I love it, why the last year has been so great for me, and what has changed since it initially released, because they did update it and somehow got way, way better. Well, when this thing first released, like I said, it did have a lot of problems, but some of those problems did get addressed. First of all, the motion sensor was not as good as it is right now, and I truly can't explain to you how this happened, but somehow, someway, they were able to release a firmware update to every single Alarmo, and all of a sudden, it got better at sensing motion? I don't get it, but it worked. When this thing first came out, it was very finicky in terms of being able to tell if you were getting up or out or what, and it would not turn off the way it should have, and you would sometimes have to manually click that button at the top and turn it off. And for whatever reason, the update that they put out months later somehow fixed it. So this was huge, right? I had been using this every single day, and I was using the motion feature religiously, and this thing was not working about 70% of the time for me. I would have to stand in a very specific spot. I did find a way to make it work consistently, but every single day I would get up and it just wasn't working for me because I put it so close to my bed, and that was my only option. I have a little desk right next to my bed, and that's the only place I could actually put it to where it could sense my entire bed, to where it could see my motion and see when I get up. and yet I only found one specific spot at the very end of the bed that I have to crawl over towards and stand up, and that was the way that it helped me get up. So then I did that for months, and then this update came out and it started working perfectly to where I could get up anywhere and it would just work exactly the way it was designed to work. And that was great until I decided I was too lazy to do that. Once I got to a point, I was like, you know what? I'm too lazy for this. I just want to lay in bed for a little bit. And so I switched it over to another feature. It's not just motion censored. You can click the top of the button and be able to turn it off that way. It will say, do you want to turn it off? And then you have to press it, slide it, and press it again. And that is how you can turn it off. And that's what I've been doing every day. I'll just reach over and do that and then lay down for a few more minutes before I'm ready to get up. So when this thing launched, you had 5 options for what you wanted to wake up to in terms of the Nintendo sound effects and all of those good things. It started off with Mario Odyssey. You got plenty of options between those. There were about 5 at launch, I believe, 7, maybe something like that. Then you got Breath of the Wild, added about 7. Then you had Pikmin 4, that also had 7 more. Then Splatoon 3 got 7, and then Ring Fit Adventure got 7. Then we got a bunch of updates later on that added Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with 7 more, Animal Crossing New Horizons added 7 more. Then we got a surprise Super Mario Bros. Edition of these Alarmo sound effects that was added, I believe, last year around the March timeframe for Mario's anniversary. These are really the only things that you need to know about Alarmo. But of course, there is a lot more to be had with this device, and Nintendo would not be Nintendo if they did not give us way too much thought into this product with pretty much no returns on it whatsoever. Gosh, I love this company. A really fun idea with this clock was that there are so many different types of sounds that you can use with all of the different features and all of the different games they included in this clock. It started off with those 5 and the 7 in each 5. So that's 35 songs that you can wake up to, 35 noises, 35 different alarms. Then they added 2 more, so that's 49, and then they added 1 more with Mario, and he only had 5, so then that's a total of 54 different things that you can wake up to. If you were to do that once a day, that'd be 54 different ones every single day, and that means that if you really wanted to get used to one, if you really wanted one sound that you just were trying to find for everyday use that was your favorite, well, it would be very difficult for you to do so. So they added in an update later on a preview system in which you can look and hear about which ones are going to sound like what. I personally thought this was a perfect update, especially for someone like me who was definitely willing to go through all of these different ones, but didn't necessarily want to have to listen to the same things over and over again in terms of the sleepy sounds every single night, because that is probably one of the biggest features that I have used, and one thing that I think a lot of people would really love to get to know about Alarmo. So let's say you set your alarm for the next morning. You've got it set for 7:30 a.m. the very next morning, and you have Super Mario Odyssey and Pauline's song, Jump Up Superstar, ready to wake you up for that Monday morning to get you all jazzed up and ready to go to work. Well, the only downside to this is that if you do in fact want to listen to the sleepy sounds, which are, by the way, very soft renditions of music from those games, then if you want to listen to those, you're going to have to listen to the very specific ones that each game offers you. For Super Mario Odyssey, it is the Moon Kingdoms theme, which is very peaceful. And the thing is that I personally love that one. I love Breath of the Wild's one. It's like a little bit of the field theme at night, but then also a little bit of campfire in the background and a little bit of wind blowing through. I love a lot of these different ones, but there are some that I really hate. I hate Ring Fit Adventure's awful sleepy sounds. I really am not a huge fan of the Super Mario updated one, the Super Mario Bros. One. That one is just like a rendition of the Super Mario Bros. Theme, but just for quiet time, and it's just too much. It's too stimulating for my brain. It's not calming enough. I just am not a fan. And so there are options here, but if you really love one of the alarms, you're not allowed to listen to those sleepy sounds unless you then want to have to subject yourself to that game's particular sleepy sounds, or you just turn it off. So because I don't like the Super Mario Bros. Sleepy Sound theme and I don't like the Ring Fit Adventure one, I am never going to wake up to those alarms because I do in fact want to listen to the sleepy sounds, but those are too bad. Like, those are just too bad for me, and so I'm never going to listen to those. So those are two that I immediately will never use. And maybe for you it's going to be the Pikmin 4 theme, or maybe you just don't like the Breath of the Wild theme because of all the racket of the wind and the fire. Maybe you just aren't a fan of any of those. So that's why I said earlier, all you really need to know about this is the alarm system and how it works, because the sleepy sounds do make a lot for a lot of people, but there are a select amount of people, I'm sure, that would be way too stimulated by this and would never be able to sleep with any of these sleepy sounds. And so that's just one more feature in your $100 alarm clock that you're never going to use. And speaking of features you're never going to use, here are all of the different features that the Alarmo has in it day one. If you go to buy it from the store right now, this is what you can expect to slide through. First, you have the alarms. You can set your alarm. Then you can turn the alarm on and off. Then the sleepy sounds, the hourly chime, the records, then the settings, you get yourself the download the new alarms button, and then the help feature. Obviously, you know what set alarm means. The on and off feature is a lot different because after the most recent update from that next patch, you were able to make it to where if you didn't want to set your alarm every single day, you could go through each individual day and set your time for those days. And if you didn't want your alarm set over the weekend or something like that, you could make it to where the alarm was on Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday it's automatically off. So you never even really have to touch it, and you can just stay at whatever your schedule is, you can just stay towards that. That's pretty cool, but it's really not that hard to set your alarm every single day, so I have never used that feature. Then the sleepy sounds, when it first came out, I loved it, but my only complaint was that it just wasn't long enough. It was only about 5 minutes, and then it moved up to 10 minutes in an update, and then I was just like, why can't we update this ourselves? Why can't we make it to where if we want to listen to it for 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, we can do that? Well, then in an update later on, they added in a patch that made it to where you could set it for up to 60 minutes, which is amazing, a great update. Now you can listen to them as long as you want. I personally have it set to about 20 to 22 minutes every single night, depending on how I'm feeling that night, but I love listening to these sounds, and so having it for longer was a great addition. Then the hourly chime, it makes sense. That's pretty much just every single hour on the hour, it will give you a little chime from whatever game you have selected. I pretty much always keep this off because if I'm ever recording or anything like that and I forget that I have it on, then it's going to chime in the background and ruin one of my takes, so I just never typically use that feature. Then we have the records feature, which I have always thought was very interesting. It will show you how long you slept each night, but the thing is that it's never accurate. Like, I will go to bed at 12 a.m. and then wake up at 8, and it will try to tell me that I slept for 12 hours that night before, but sometimes it does accurately read it, so I'm not sure what it's measuring. I'm not sure if it's thinking I'm in bed or not or whatever. Then the next records feature here is it just shows you when you got up as according to your alarm clock. Did you get up earlier, later, or just on time? Then the next one, this is the most useful one that I really enjoy looking at. It shows you when you moved throughout the night. So maybe there was some night you didn't sleep very well and you want to think, man, I felt like I was jumping up and down all night. You'll look at this and it'll show you whether or not you were in fact moving at that given time. The records are interesting, but because they're so inconsistent in being accurate, I just never find myself looking at them, and most days I'm not even really gonna care. If I'm just really bored and I'm looking around my room and I'm seeing this and I'm like, well, maybe I'll look at that. That's the only time that I have ever thought to look at this feature. It's very cool at first, but most of the time it's not. A lot of times I'll look at it if I have been restless, and then I'll see, oh, was I restless? And it'll show me, yes, I was. But that's about all the use you're gonna get out of that. Next up is the settings. Of course, that's just normal for every type of device. Then you have yourself the download new alarms feature. This was very fun for me at first because I knew that there were going to be 2 extra modes added, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe one and then the New Horizons one, and I never knew when they were going to be. So there was a time period there for a while when I was just waiting and checking every single day to see if there was a new one able to be downloaded. And of course, it would notify me every time that there was, but I didn't know if there was just going to be one that randomly popped up and I would just have to download it and get it before everyone else got it first, you know? But at the very top of this, there is an envelope button, and if you push that, it will show you the new alarm, and you'll be able to download it that way. I don't think we're ever getting a new alarm for this Alarmo system. I think this is the end of it. I think that new Super Mario Bros. 1 was the final nail in the coffin here because no one bought this thing. But I just wanted to make a video about it because it has been a year since this thing came out. It's now sitting at $110 on Nintendo Store, and you can get it pretty much anywhere at this point. It's not going up in price, it's not going down in price, it's just one of those things that's going to sit there for a while until eventually it does completely and totally sell out. This is one of those things that I will always look back on and think, man, in a time when everyone was so angry at Nintendo, in a time when people are saying and clamoring, oh, let's go back to the old Nintendo, I want to go back to Iwata and Reggie and all the wacky cool stuff that they did, they would never do anything like this today. Well, this is them doing something weird and wacky today, and you didn't care, and you didn't buy it. And so those people, I just wanted to make this video for and say, Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. Go get it. If you are missing out on that Nintendo wackiness, this is it. The Labo stuff that they were doing back in 2018, back for the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo has not gone anywhere. They are not a different company. Sure, they have different people, but they are still the same at the core because those same values have been passed on from generation to generation. They are no different than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They're still one of the best companies in the gaming industry, and morally, they're probably the best, by far. I love me some Nintendo, I love me some Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo, and this was my 1-year retrospective of this device. So let me know down in the comments, did you get this? Did you forget this existed? Are you getting it now? Let me know all your thoughts about this Sound Clock Alarmo. Make sure you click that like button, that subscribe button, the notification bell, and click that hype button. It is the most important button. It helps smaller channels like mine grow and get people's eyes on it. Make sure you consider joining my membership program to help join the community and just make the channel a little bit better and get a bunch of perks for yourself. Make sure you click on the left side of your screen to see my video covering the new president and CEO of Nintendo, and click on the right side of your screen to see my video on the Switch 2. I recently talked about how it is so powerful and how third parties need to be doing better with it. Hey, thank you for making it to the end. Make sure you have yourself a phenomenal day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see you all in the next video.